my belief is that Africa will not be a part of that Great Reset. Yes, I'm still here in Tanzania. I think my 6-week trip turned into 2 months, which isn't so bad, but yes, I am still here in Tanzania, making some major investments. And in this video, I want to talk about why I've realized that it's more crucial than ever to be doing so now as we embark on what we're seeing as results of the Great Resets. So welcome to the channel. If you're new, my name is Ashley. On my channel, Ashley in Africa, I talk about my experience of living, moving, and doing business here on the continent. So I currently live in South Africa, but I've been in Tanzania for almost 2 months now. It was a holiday, extended holiday that resulted in the manifestation of business that I've been speaking into existence over my life for the last 2 years, and it's come to fruition. But this video is not about that. This video is about the Great Reset and why my belief is that Africa will not be a part of that Great Reset. And I'm gonna share why. So the Great Reset essentially is something that kind of turned into this conspiracy theory, but it was a part of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic that happened to all of us in 2020, that the World Economic Forum responded to and saying, how will we go back to normal? And I have my notes, guys. So as you know, I like to have my receipts. But the Great Reset was a book, back in 2010. The World Economic Forum used it as a response to the COVID pandemic. And then in 2022, it was discussed again at the Davos Summit, which is, for those who don't know, essentially a convergence of very wealthy, powerful people in finance and economics. And at that theme of the 2022 Davos Summit, history at a turning point, the discussion again around the Great Reset happened. And, there has been some conversation around this being conspiracy theory but it can be quite triggering to different communities depending on where you're at. I think specifically in the Western world, as we're starting to see the Western world literally implode, whether you're talking about the race riots in the UK or the gun violence in the US, you're seeing all of this happen. Housing crisis, inflation, these things are happening. Specifically, we're seeing in Western nations. I can even see some of that happening and resonating in South Africa. But here in Tanzania and much of Africa, we're seeing development. We're seeing an increase in the middle class. We're seeing an increase in infrastructure. We're seeing an increase in innovation. I'm literally sitting on a Saturday and there's construction happening. So that's also what you hear in the background. And I had to sit outside because how could I not? But, and this isn't to catastrophize because we're seeing it. We're literally seeing these things happen, and they're happening in these Western spaces. But things are getting worse. And I know you feel it, right? Leave a comment below if you're feeling it and what that looks like in your nation. And yes, Africa does have some challenges, more or less, bureaucracy, lack of bureaucracy, so-called corruption, but for the most part, if you've got some money to get things done, you can get it done here on the continent. Yes, there may be some less infrastructure, but there are benefits that come with that, right? Natural foods that we know are actually coming out of the ground and not coming out of laboratories. Adherence to human rights, self-rights. I mean, this is something that these things are being taken away. Access to history and historical information. Again, the continent of Africa is not perfect, but my hypothesis and my analysis is that it's going in the right direction. What about your country? Do you see it going in the right direction, or is it attempting to go backwards, right? Or are we holding on to a false fallacy of a concept because it feels good? It ignites our emotional chords, our feelings. You know, election time in the US is very interesting, but it's very emotionally centered currently. And to me, that isn't going in the right direction. All right. So what's happening here on the continent? Well, we're seeing the removal, right, or the booting out of older Western structures in the Francophone countries of West Africa. We're seeing, you know, the blatant support of Russia from South Africa and saying we stand with Russia. We're seeing the, infrastructure development of China here on the continent. And while, folks in the West, you guys want to talk about who's coming here, who's not, look, America has been, and these Western colonial countries have been in Africa for centuries, removing things, people, minerals, resources, and then coming back with lectures, coming back with their so-called religion, their so-called belief system, right? They've had the opportunity to develop, and what they've done instead has been neo-colonize or bully or lecture, where you've got Asian countries and other Eastern African countries coming in and providing hospitals, providing roads, providing infrastructure. So again, say what you like, but we're seeing a forward progression of what is happening. The entities and the economic structures that are forward progressing are coming together and collectively saying we are choosing forward progress, and no longer these institutions, organizations, corporations, and entities, geopolitical entities that are trying to get us to abide by their agenda. All right. And so that's what they're seeing. And so the ancestors say Ashe as the wind blows. What Africa is doing as well, slowly but surely, with the African Union, is to make movement throughout the continent more accessible, right? And this is a process, but we're seeing with the Eastern African community, the Southern African, is it democratic countries, SADC, EAC, ECOWAS, we're seeing these collections of countries coming together, trading together, creating policies that are benefiting its people, versus what we're seeing in the West, where they're attempting to divide and to replace. There's a lot going on. There are also, these influx and these increases in options for residency, for citizenship. I'm still in Tanzania, and I'm still in Tanzania because, as I mentioned, I manifested the opportunity to do business in multiple countries on the continent of Africa, on different coasts. And I am a person that has made really poor financial decisions from not knowing in high school and college to now in my 40s being able to see the result of commitment, of focus, of deferment, delayed gratification, to say I see the strategic opportunities that lie in being diversified, having multiple residencies, having multiple citizenships, earning income in multiple currencies, speaking multiple languages, positioning myself in different global places, and doing that for my children as well, and showing them that opportunity is everywhere. And if you're a person that is seeing the shift economically, is seeing the opportunities dwindle in your home country, and want to explore what else there is, I absolutely recommend doing your research first, taking a discovery trip, but also like, don't take my word for it. Get online and start searching. I'll leave a couple of videos that inspired this video, which was directly inspired by Nomad Capitalist, who I've been watching for a while. And I love hearing him talk about Africa now, because in the beginning, there wasn't a whole lot of conversation about Africa. And that's not to say he wasn't researching or aware of the promise of Africa, but a lot of people say, I don't want to live in these developing countries. I don't want to deal with poor, infrastructure, whether it's roads, water, power outages. I want to be in what feels comfortable to me. And what he did was highlight these other developing countries that are now like, oh, we don't need your investment. We don't need your policy. We don't need your foreign aid. Singapore is one, to be specific, that he touched on. And so even after being gone in South Africa for a year and a half, what I've come back to see in Tanzania has been mind-blowing. The retail developments, the infrastructure developments that are happening currently. I mean, they're building a corridor for transit. The electric rail that has gone up, that is still extending stops. The airline systems that are now direct flights to other parts of the continent. These things are happening, and how Africa as a continent looks now will be dramatically different in the next 10 to 20 years. And so for those of us that are millennials, we can remember 10 years ago, probably like it was yesterday. We can look back on 20 years ago and be like, wow, that was 20 years ago. And so what I'm saying is, don't wait until you can't make a decision anymore. We're already seeing what's happening, the chronic anxiety and stress that comes with living in environments fueled with violence, separation, just toxic communication. Don't be in a toxic relationship. Don't be in a space where you know things are going in the wrong direction, but you're waiting for the right moment to take action. Listen, the Great Reset is upon us. It's happening. We're seeing it play out. But much of the continent of Africa will not be a part of that, because it is developing, and it is developing in the positive direction. So I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about that? What do you think about the progression of your country? What are some of the concerns and questions that you have? Listen, I'm inviting a small group of people to join me this October in Zanzibar, Tanzania, for our Investor Summit and Mastermind. This is for people that don't need convincing, that already know that international global lifestyle is for them. They may not know how to go about it. While we'll be meeting here in Tanzania and talking about the opportunities that are available to you, not only here in Tanzania, but we'll be talking about the other countries in Eastern Africa as well as Southern Africa. We're going to be ideating. We're going to be getting strategic advice and input. You're going to learn my personal investment strategy, what I'm doing within my portfolio with my family and my advisors and my strategic partners, as well as get advice from other people that are way more advanced than me. Because listen, I'm still figuring it out. I'm in a building phase, right? Nothing is valued at millions of dollars yet, but we're actively building in that direction and in that trajectory with some serious partners. And so if you have an interest in learning what this life could look like for you and your family, because this is a family-friendly event, join me in Zanzibar this October. We've got less than 10 seats available. I think we've got 7 left. We sold out last year. So join us in October. The link will be in the description as well as the pinned comment. I want to see you win. I want to see you build wealth in the ways that we're building it in this current generation, and for the next generation of our children to have flexibility and options of living a lifestyle that they don't have to vacation from, but that they can also be globally astute and competitive, while also being of service to other people, not only here on the continent, but also in the US, by providing jobs, by providing infrastructure, and by providing the type of information that everybody deserves access to. All right, so if you found valuable information in this video, share this content, like it, and subscribe to the channel. Until the next video, guys, I'll see you soon.